Coming up on Techzilla, it's our 100th episode.
Woo!
We got our favorite gadgets under $100. It's time to secure your cell phone and some DIY home audio streaming, along with a big old stack of your questions. So pop together a PBJ, chop up some watermelon slices, and throw it all in a picnic basket, because Techzilla starts now. This episode of Techzilla is made possible by Gamefly, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.com. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Techzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you already got.
Yes, whether you're a beginner, tech support for your friends and family. If you've got a question about building a mighty game-stomping PC of doom, a master router, whether or not you need a VPN, or the best breakfast in Las Vegas, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we will track down someone who does.
So, Mr. Vegas, speaking of which, I heard you were rubbing elbows down at DEF CON this weekend.
Yes, I was in the biomass. For everybody I didn't get to catch up with, I am so sorry. There are certain tables that it was apparently impossible for me to find involving hardware hacking. But yeah, I was also down there with my buddies, Nerds List crew. We had the annual Buca de Beppo dinner. There were no arrests this year, which was a big plus at our dinner. Should we talk about what we have to fear this year?
Yeah,
should I explain what DEF
should
CON
I be
is?
living in fear about this year?
I should say DEF CON is an annual hacker gathering where people talk about exploits, tools, neat things they figured out how to do, and it's an idea of sharing information on the cheap, and it's all wrapped up in a big party, and it comes after one of the most serious security gatherings of the year, which is Black Hat. They're kind of, the DEF CON's the little punk brother of Black Hat. So if you're on an iPhone, if you're an iPhone user, you should update to 3.0.1 right now. The week before Black Hat, a pretty gnarly SMS vulnerability in the iPhone was made public. Apple patched it. You need to fix it. So, and DEF CON is really a lot about paranoia and encouraging it and encouraging people to have best practices all the time, from the beloved wall of sheep, which is where a bunch of guys work all during the day to basically keep their I will say keep their eyes peeled, their ears peeled. They basically troll unsecured passwords. So if you're sending a password on an open unencrypted line, they will grab it and your information and they post it on the wall of sheep.
Do tell.
Yes, once again, I have managed to avoid getting my name up on the wall of sheep by using the most expedient protection I can, which is to never ever log into my computer or into any network while I'm at DEF CON.
Yeah, so the short answer to that is just don't use your computer.
Yeah, the next step is to make sure if you use it, you don't use local Wi-Fi, use 3G, use a VPN. One of the scariest panels, actually, to get more serious, it was a new form of man-in-the-middle attack to go after SSL encryption, which is basically what's used to protect your banking information or when you shop online or your Gmail passwords. Before everybody freaks out, I should also point out that it requires somebody inside the corporation to plant tools inside there to basically do a man-in-the-middle attack and listen on what's going on. So before everybody panics, stop, and also be aware that browser vendors are creating a patch for this to help make this more difficult or more impossible.
All right, well, other than that freaky stuff, what else did you learn at DEF CON?
Well, that wasn't freaky, it was more scary. Actually, even a little bit more and less scary. The title was scarier than the panel. The panel was pretty intense, basically talking about the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. The people keep planes in the air and route them from place to place, basically talking about the need for them to upgrade the security in their networks, vulnerabilities in Linksys model WRT160N and Netgear RP614 version 4 routers when using cPanel, which can be basically naughty things can happen to that. How people legally game the credit services by working loopholes in the credit system. And I think my favorite story from DEF CON was somebody figured out how to take advantage of basically the openness of the firmware in Apple keyboards, like the Apple keyboard, the regular USB keyboard. Basically, so they take the keyboard out of your computer, they plug it into like their portable device or notebook, they load about 100 kilobits of code on it, and you can now use it to basically keylog passwords, login access, names, and it can also inject code into your computer, and you can use it to reinfect the computer over and over again, because once that nasty code is on the firmware of your keyboard, they don't seem to think there's any way to get it out.
So never let anyone borrow your keyboard is the
Yes.
moral of that story?
Well, it's one of the things that comes out, you know, it requires physical access to the keyboard.
Right.
And one of the things that's been very big in the DEF CON community for the last 5 years is becoming more aware of how critical physical security is. Locks. Most locks suck. In fact, someone a few years ago, I want to say, don't want to say the name right now. We may have them on as a guest in the future, but they started a series basically talking about lock picking because everybody's like, you know, I have a lock, it's unpickable, and you know, when you watch like somebody doing bump picking, somebody's like 10-year-old daughter, you know, being handed a lock and like, you know, just doing it over and over again, or the fact that most padlocks are a joke. Or you know what I mean, like, you know, if it says high security on the label, that really doesn't mean anything if somebody has the right tools or the right knowledge. So they want to make sure everybody understands that how inadequate some physical security is.
What's this I heard about the fake ATM?
There was, so one of the most common and kind of nasty scams out there, like you see like the no brand ATM machine at some third-party gas station from Doom, or maybe.
Or sometimes people put the credit card slider, a fake credit card
Yeah,
slider on
well,
an actual ATM.
People like look at me like I'm on crack because every time I walk up to an ATM, the first thing I do is I grab the lip of the ATM where
Yeah,
the
and see
card
if you
goes
can
in.
wiggle it. Yeah.
I basically yank on it, you know, and if there's nothing, because what people do is there's a skimmer that will basically read the information from your card, and they usually mount some kind of a camera, or they sit somewhere where they can try to figure out your password and actually record your password after they've recorded your PIN number on it. So like basically, you know, yank on the ATM machine. Even more nefarious, they basically got, because anybody can buy ATM machines, like, you know, I'm going to go buy an ATM machine, and you set it up. So in this particular one, it was set up so it would record your card and your PIN number. That was basically all it did. And they set it up in the one place in the big giant casino that didn't have security cameras pointed at it, which was right next to the security office.
Oh, man.
Right? So it was pretty brilliant. Except nobody really knows if it was somebody targeting DEF CON attendees because they don't like them, or if it was because they didn't realize that instead of a whole bunch of people on vacation from insert name of part of the world here, that 8,000 security consultants would be showing up next week instead of maybe 8,000 doctors or lawyers or whatever. And there was a ton there. RFID security, the lockpicking I talked about. Adam Savage of Mythbusters fame gave one of the most popular talks ever. The line was like, I think, wrapped around the casino twice to get into
Yeah,
his.
it's always a huge line whenever they show up.
Yeah, well, he was very popular. Yeah, it was good. It was
Good. Well, I'm glad you had a fun time. Do you know what else is special about today's show, other than you being back from DEF CON?
Well, you have a fabulous new shirt today.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice of you to notice.
It's better.
Normally when shows hit 100, you get streamers, balloons, maybe a cake, and lots of self-congratulatory pats on the back. You know, like that. We're more hungry for your love, appreciation, and of course, continued viewership. So we figured we'd skip the faux party and serve you up a hot, greasy plate of our favorite gadgets under $100. And I think I'll go first.
I'm good with that. It's
You
our
good
gift
with
to
me
you,
going first?
as it were.
One of my favorite devices is the Mophie juice pack right here. They have a couple of different versions. They've got the Air, which is a little bit slimmer. Probably does. I don't think it gives you as much battery juice overall, but it's, you know, it's a slimmer design. This is like the perfect travel companion. If your battery goes kaput when you're out on the road, this thing is a lifesaver. At $99, it's definitely on the higher end of the spectrum, but I think it's worth it for sure.
I'll definitely agree with you. If you own an iPhone, a battery extender is a huge, huge help. I prefer the one from True Power, which is from Fastback.
You do? Why do you prefer that one?
It's got a bigger battery.
Oh.
And it also has a removable faceplate so that if they make significant changes to the iPhone design, they'll be able to gin one of these up so it'll actually keep fitting.
Fair enough.
Mostly though, it's got
Fair
a
enough.
ridiculous amount of juice.
Now, the next one that I had on my list was something I mentioned last week, so we won't go into it too much, but of course, it's the MiFi. It's a great little EVDO modem for on the go. We're not counting the data plans here, but the unit itself is $99 after a $50 rebate from Verizon and Sprint. It's catching on in a big way, too. Everyone I know has one these days. Tom Merritt over at CNET is in love with his, and the editor of Maximum PC, Will Smith, just bought one for his whole team to share at events.
Wow, so they're all buying them themselves. They're
No,
not being-
they have one unit for the whole team, and so when they're at conferences together, they can do live blogging just by having the one, because you can have 5 clients connected at the same time.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's, you know, very convenient for that kind of thing. One that I don't have with me right now is the Pogo Plug, and it was one of my favorite devices from CES last year. It's just a great way to be able to access and share your files from anywhere. It takes only a few minutes to set up with your network, and then it acts like an external drive on your computer. You can just see it, you can, you know, eject it or drag files back and forth from it. All you need at home is a hard drive and an internet connection.
So the hard drive goes into the Pogo, which connects to the network and makes everything available.
Right.
That's slick.
Yeah, so if you have like a grandma or something that wants to keep up to date on your family photos, you can just send her the public link and she can click on it and get like live updated files.
Can you password protect it?
I believe so, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
I'll have
like
to
it.
check on that, but I think that's also the case.
I like that thought.
Yeah, it's really cute too. You know, I said
It's very twee.
I like how every device I've picked so far is actually $99. I didn't do a very good job on this list, did I? The next one is not. It's the Snow Leopard upgrades, available for pre-order now on Amazon at $29 for the single user and $49 for the family pack. It's a pretty good deal if you've got Leopard running on your Mac already.
I like that thought.
Yeah, we're excited about that one.
The upgrade?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cheap upgrade, isn't it?
It is. It's an unbelievably. Actually, it's unbelievably cheap compared to the Windows 7 upgrade. But I'm so focused on the Windows 7 upgrade. I'm sorry.
I know, it's all you can talk about. Well, you'll get
Windows
your chance
7,
shortly.
Windows 7, Windows
You'll get
7.
your chance.
You have a non-iPod MP3 player on your list.
I do have a non-iPod MP3 player on the list. Of course, the Shuffle would be an obvious pick, but one of my other favorite devices is the Creative Zen MP3 players. And they have a 16 gigabyte that's over $100, but the 2 and 4 gigabyte players are just really tiny, really adorable. They're compatible with a ton of different file formats.
Nice.
They've got voice recorders, radio on there, and even an equalizer built right in.
Cool.
And yeah, they're comfortable and they're dirt cheap.
Want to talk cheap? Memory upgrades. 2 gigabyte upgrades could be had for as little as $20 to $30. Even the high-end DDR3 memory for Core i7 systems, chances are you can get 3 to 6 gigabytes of it for $100, at least 3 gigabytes, maybe more. It is unbelievable how much memory you can get for no money. You're running an older system with 512 megabytes or a gigabyte, get it up to 2 gigabytes if it supports it. If you're running a 32-bit version of Windows, 4 gigabytes, or you know what, OS X wakes up at 2 gigabytes and more. It will be an amazing difference in the perceived performance of your machine, and you're not going to spend much money. By the way, USB thumb drives, also ridiculously cheap. 4 gigabytes for under $25. Actually, 4 gigabytes for under $12. 32 gigabytes, well under $100. And check out Hack5's nifty USB multipass. It is a really cool tool you can create, or you can just use them to store photos, send photos to grandma, carry around your favorite audio in case your iPod gets stomped. Flash memory for your cameras. Everyone should have like a 4 or 8 gigabyte flash memory card for their camera because they cost nothing.
I get them. They
you're
literally
like shiny.
cost nothing for me because I get them at trade shows and I just wipe them clean and use them for myself.
The ones at trade shows may not be as good for
like this
long
is a
term.
Showstoppers one, for example.
Yeah, there's like the rest of these are all ones that we paid for, but don't try to like run an operating system or put anything really. If like the super cheap giveaway ones, like those are good for like carrying stuff around at work, but I wouldn't trust my treasured memories to them. But I'm also super paranoid about that. Grado's SR60s headphones, they are the best sounding headphones for the dollar. They're under $75 and they will make your MP3 player, your notebook, or your desktop sound amazing. Western Digital's 1 terabyte hard drives, both the black and the green, are under $100 now. Green drives are a little slower and quieter. They use less energy. The black drives are a little harder. They're great for your primary desktop system, or for like if you have like OneDrive external, you need to be fast. And you know what? They'll probably be down to $75 by the time this thing hits the street. Magnavox Blu-ray player from Walmart, no BD Live, so you don't have that. Well, BD Live is useless, but it's solid quality Blu-ray playback, DVD upscaling, $98. It may be priced higher. Go to the front desk. They should give you the $98 price. And Windows 7 is not under $100 yet.
Told you.
Well, I can dream.
I'm just saying.
Hey, well, Snow Leopard's coming soon. All right, that's not all. We're going to have the rest of our picks. We're just going to keep putting our favorite stuff under $100. Should we put paper clips? Everyone should have a paper clip in their wallet.
Paper clips are very handy, but hey, we have a ton of them, so we're gonna put we're gonna start a
We have a
thread
ton
in
of
the
paper
forums.
clips?
We have millions.
I
of
want to
paper
see a
clips.
ton of paper clips piled up. That would be epic.
Like a literal ton.
A literal 2,000 pounds of paper
2,000
clips
pounds of paper clips.
in a pile.
Why would we do that? You're weird. We're gonna make a list in the forums of all our favorite gadgets and gear under $100. We want you to add your own as well, so we can have a really nice, they call it on Engadget their, what do they call it? Their recession antidote
I like it.
gadget. So these are kind of like our recession antidote picks.
I like that thought. Still to come, people, DIY streaming audio, a perky pack of viewer questions, and cell phone hacks. Is it time to secure your phone? But while we've got your attention, a brief message from our beloved Veronica.
Yes, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Here to tell you more is our PA, Annie.
Hi Techzilla viewers, I'm Annie and I'm back to tell you all about Squarespace. I work for Techzilla, but my side hobby is blogging about lame babies. After 2 years in the game, I felt like yourbabyslame.com needed a little facelift to keep our competitive edge. So I switched over to Squarespace by using the import blog function. From there, I was able to add a ton of cool new features like an upload page where visitors can submit their own baby pics for lame stamping, a contact form where you can report a sighting, discussion forums, and much, much more. In addition to my regular journal content, Squarespace lets me add all these cool interactive features that engage my visitors and keep them coming back for more. Plus, Squarespace also has built-in data analytics so I can keep track of how my site's doing without using an annoying third-party plugin. So what are you waiting for? Take your site up a notch with Squarespace. And using the code TEKZ, that's TEKZ, gets you 10% off the entire lifetime of your order. So check out squarespace.com today.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick. A free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, Sam & Max's Abe Lincoln Must Die. Now, before you freak out, if you grew up PC gaming in the early 90s, you've probably played Steve Purcell's politically incorrect comic book turned adventure game, Sam & Max. With the recent revival of the franchise into an episodic series, Telltale Games has released Episode 4, Abe Lincoln Must Die, as a free download. That's right, all the witty writing and snarky dialogue you've come to expect from Sam & Max's adventure games is now available as a free downloadable game. In this installment, Abe Lincoln Must Die, the president's lost it. Federally mandated group hugs, a pudding embargo, what's next? Sam & Max are off to Washington to take care of this bozo, but the political climate will only get stormier, and a new power will rise. Are you clever enough to uncover the nefarious plot and right the wrongs without resorting to a walkthrough? Find out as you enjoy one of the highest rated episodes in the Sam & Max series from Telltale Games, and you're going to enjoy it for free. What are you waiting for? Start downloading it today.
White paint, Christmas lights, and a small barbecue.
Everything somebody would need to renovate, decorate, and then accidentally burn the place to the ground.
Security tools for your cell phone might sound silly until you realize that mobile devices like your iPhone are rapidly evolving into mobile PCs. Or you were at Black Hat or DEF CON and got a chance to see the attacks that the security researchers at Flexilis were able to demonstrate. Did I say attacks? Think taking control of a phone via SMS messages. Joining us today is one of the principals at Flexilis, a guy I've known for years, Mr. John Herring. John, welcome to Techzilla.
Hey Patrick, thanks for having me.
So I got to ask you, before people turn white with fear and start flushing their smartphones down the nearest toilet, how paranoid should we really be about mobile security?
I think paranoid is a pretty strong term, but people definitely need to be aware that these devices are essentially mobile computers, and as they're evolving, the types of threats and new threats that we've seen impact PCs are going to start to impact mobile devices as well. And I think that one of the driving factors of this is how personal these devices are. I would argue that mobile devices are the most personal computer.
Certainly, and something people rely on for their own personal security and obviously communications. I mean, my iPhone goes out, I can't dial 911 if something's wrong with my son. That's a really scary concept. I mean, just so people know who you guys are, who is Flexilis and what do you do there?
Flexilis is a mobile security startup. We're a group of security researchers and software developers working to keep mobile devices safe.
So I know that, like, for example, there was the SMS hacks that were demonstrated last week have been patched for the iPhone. Is there a real possibility of your phone actually getting hacked? I mean, aren't the big telephone companies and the cell phone makers working night and day to secure everything inside of your cell phone?
Absolutely. I mean, the iPhone vulnerabilities that we saw that Charlie and Colin discussed were pretty significant. Those have been patched, although one of the problems that we've noticed is that the OEMs or operators can do a great job in keeping the devices up to date, but at the end of the day, it's up to the end user to keep those devices patched. So there's likely many, many people out there, scores of them, who have not patched or updated their devices who are still vulnerable to those attacks now. And that's a consistent problem. Then other devices, including the exploits that we discovered for Windows Mobile, for example, certain types of Windows mobile handsets, rather, are still out there in the wild, and it's important that users apply a hotfix to deal with those issues.
So when we're talking about like the exploits you guys found, tell the viewers what you found inside of some of the Windows mobile handsets.
So it's interesting. We discovered a issue that has been introduced into certain types of Windows mobile handsets. We found them in HTC, Samsung, Motorola, Pantech, a whole number of OEMs devices with misconfigured security policies that enable me to send a specially crafted SMS message, or a WAP push message rather, that enables me to take control of the device by means of arbitrarily sending a web browser to the device or causing it to load a certain type of software.
So and it's kind of interesting that SMS has kind of been the vector. There's a pretty massive iPhone attack that allowed people to take over iPhones through SMS. A similar attack has been ventured for Android, but I believe they're in the process of patching that. Why is SMS suddenly all of a sudden? Did they figure it out on one device and decide to see if the SMS vulnerability was available on other operating systems?
Most of these are different issues, actually, and what we've found is that SMS is becoming a topic of interest, or a vector of interest, if you will, because it's so absolutely common. I mean, it's a vector of attack that is always on. Almost every device has SMS, if not every device. Mm-hmm. I've yet to see a phone that doesn't have SMS text messaging. and it's the kind of attack vector that you can remotely exploit a device from anywhere in the world.
What can viewers do to protect themselves? Is keeping your device updated number one?
Yeah, I would say one of the most important things you can do is be aware of the patches out there. So keep up to date. If there is a security patch issued, and this comes with all the major iPhone updates, especially if you're on the iPhone, make sure that you get that updated as soon as you possibly can. You're exposing yourself to vulnerabilities, if you will, if you're not patching your device. And although the threats are still young but growing, it is becoming more of an issue. There's a few other things you can do. Only use essential services on your mobile device. So for example, if you have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled and you're not using them, my recommendation would be to keep them off, and especially with Bluetooth, keep it in non-discoverable mode. All you're doing is exposing additional attack surface that in an unnecessary way.
So you mentioned a fuzzing cluster. That sounds a little terrifying. What is that?
We built a tool designed to test the security of mobile devices rapidly and in parallel. So we can test one phone with a piece of software, but we can actually parallelize this on 10 or 50 devices across multiple protocols like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and SMS all simultaneously. We've built this into a hardware embodiment that we call a distributed fuzzing cluster, actually in a TSA-friendly case so it can travel with us. And it enables us to hack lots of phones simultaneously in simple terms.
So when you say hack lots of phones, you're not talking about like pulling it out of your luggage in an airline terminal, plugging it into the wall and wreaking mayhem. You know, maybe you're inside a Faraday cage with a bunch of cell phones from a particular network provider or something and seeing what's vulnerable on them. You just run attacks over and over?
It's actually in a controlled environment, and these attacks and tests are being run either over the wire or over local radio protocols. So everything's happening locally on our own devices in a controlled environment. We are very strict about testing our own devices and making sure that no other devices are being tested without permission.
So you've got a couple of hacks you want to show off for us.
Absolutely. So what's happening here is my colleague is going to remotely exploit the device. What will happen is he is sending a malicious SMS message that will force a web browser to open. Oh, there it goes. We see Opera Mobile loading. It's going to be loading to defcon.com, the website of the conference that we just spoke at. And this is an example of what a user or a malicious attacker might be able to do is open an arbitrary URL in a web browser, or open an arbitrary URL pointing to an application, forcing the device to download malware. Now, this website's not malicious, but if someone so chose, they could send it to a website that had an actual browser exploiter vulnerability, thus actually taking control of the device at much deeper levels.
So they could actually force it to go to Texilla.com and maybe download a video?
Yes.
So what kind of stuff are you seeing in terms of like cell network traffic itself? Because obviously there's a lot going on. You mentioned the FCC, radio towers, there's the devices that the end users use. Is there anything you guys are seeing on the physical network traffic that the cell phone companies use?
So we're not monitoring the network traffic, but what we can see is chatter from actual users who are experiencing these types of issues. One thing I would note is that the carriers absolutely have the ability to detect certain types of traffic or SMS messages being sent. So they're aware of the folks who are doing this. And it's important for those watching to note that if you try and craft these messages, it could end up not being a good idea. So what I would say is we're seeing, especially with this attack, in Europe and Asia, many users complaining about spammers taking advantage of this and pushing spam websites to their phone arbitrarily. It's quite a nuisance, to say the least.
That's excellent. I love the fact that spammers will always take advantage of the latest technology to be a pain in your ass. So any other things that you're thinking about in terms of cell phone security you'd like to share with the audience, John?
I think that the number one thing I would recommend is just stay on top of security in the same way you would with your computer. Most people are just starting to come around to the notion of mobile devices being PCs, and I think there's really three things that are driving this. It's the advancement of smart devices, it's the explosion in mobile data usage, high-speed data usage, and then third, applications. These are all really, really cool things that are driving the adoption of mobile devices, but we need to treat our mobile phones as we do our PCs.
John, thank you so much for being on the show, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to learn more, FlexList.com is a website with a lot of interesting information, and it bears watching in the future if you want to help keep your cell phone safe. Coming up next, we love the Sonos, but we've got a more DIY way to stream music around your house. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Gamefly. Video games aren't cheap, and sometimes, well, they suck. If you're dropping $50 on a new title, you can get stuck. Enter Gamefly, the largest online video game rental service around. They've got over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. Instead of gambling $50 on a new game, how about $15.95 a month to become a Gamefly member and try 1 to 4 games at a time. Keep them for as long as you like with no late fees, no due dates, and the shipping back and forth always free. Once you're done playing a game, send it back and Gamefly will send you the next available title on your list. And if you really like the game you're playing, just click Keep It on the Gamefly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. Discounts are good, and Gamefly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. How about a 2-week free trial? Techzilla fans get a 2-week free trial when they sign up at gamefly.com/Techzilla. Some restrictions do apply. Please see the site for details, and please support Techzilla by trying out our sponsors like Gamefly.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Pronounce Names. Here's a little secret into the inner workings of Techzilla. Since we get emails from all around the world, we use pronouncenames.com to figure out how to say all your names. And it works exactly the way you think it would. With more than 75,000 entries, simply type in the name you need to say correctly. Alongside the name, you'll see a phonetic spelling which was written out by someone who knows how to say the name. This is the best part, really. Anyone can enter in a name, and anyone can type in the best way to pronounce it. This way, the database is always growing and improving, and new entries are added every day. And if the phonetic spellings aren't enough, many entries have audio files of someone saying the name the way it's meant to be said. This is a great tool for people who work with international businesses, or for someone like me that has to pronounce new names on a regular basis. Never confuse Dumas with dumbass ever again. Check out pronouncenames.com today.
So last week, Veronica and I were showing off Sonos' latest product, the Sonos Controller 200. That's basically an upgrade to the 100 controller. It's sort of a modular mix and match, amazing high-end audio tool for streaming music around your house. We promised you a DIY multi-room music alternative for those who can't or won't spend the cash on a Sonos system.
So what do you have set up here?
I pulled out, it's an Apple Airport Express. It's basically a $99 device from Apple. It looks like a wall wart, because it is a wall wart, but instead of being a wall wart that has a cable to power your notebook or whatever you need power for, it just sits there squatting in the wall. And it's got a light on it. This is great. And then there's some ports on it. You're laughing. I didn't mean to make you laugh. An audio out, an Ethernet port, and a USB port. So we can actually do this. You can use it. In this case, we're using the audio port to stream audio over a wireless or a hardwired network. I can go into iTunes. I've connected it to my Apple Airport Express, and I hit play, and suddenly, well, it's a network system, so it's going to stream the music, and I've used... Yay, Millencolin.
There is sound happening over there.
Yes, there is.
So is there a multi-room solution?
Yes, actually, it used to require some third-party software to do, but if you go down in the corner, the bottom corner of iTunes, you can select okay, my computer's going to play audio, right? Mm-hmm. And then I can go to any other room in the house, right? This is exciting. This is the streaming. There we go. We've cached it up there.
The other room in our house, ladies and gentlemen.
Or, yes, you click on multiple speakers down on the bottom, and will allow you to connect multiple Airport Expresses or Airport Express, Apple TV, or multiple computers, basically to stream to multiple sets of speakers. So you're going to need an outboard amplifier and an outboard set of speakers on this, or computer speakers work particularly well for this.
So what about different tracks in different rooms? Pray tell.
Pray tell. Well, if all of your devices are all on the same network with all of your computers, you could probably use a couple of different iPhones or iPods, iPod Touches or computers to stream different tracks in different rooms. As far as I know, you can only stream one set of music to a whole bunch of different rooms with one computer, or if you want to get really fancy, that's the basic setup. It's $100 for the Airport Express.
So the plus side is that it's cheaper.
It's cheap.
You can extend your network in your home, and you can use like a USB printer.
Which is the big plus. And it's a pretty slick little device for $100. And if you have an iPod Touch or an iPhone, you can connect into your local network, choose your library, and then you can use your portable device to, if you want to wander around the house DJing, as you're vacuuming or in the party. Apparently this is my version of that dance you were doing earlier. You can't see the fancy
I don't know what
footwork
you're
going
talking
on.
about.
You'll see it in the bloopers. You can thank our producers for that. So there's no super cool integrated Rhapsody and Napster, so you're not going to be able to do like browsing 10,000 online services, but we're talking $100 in hardware per location if you own a Mac PC.
It's super easy to set up.
It's super easy to set up. And I like the fact, because I use mine primarily as a USB printer extender, and I've also used it to stream audio. Someday, if I live in a slightly larger house, I'll have multiple places to stream audio too.
Yeah,
and
then
exciting.
you can, if you have a much bigger house, you can then get the nice Sonos setup.
Wow.
I'm not saying, well, you can still save money.
After I
can
put
still
away
save
money
money.
for the child's college fund.
Yes, do that first
It's
before
the
you buy
Sonos, I gotta say
the
that.
8-room Sonos support for your house. I
a
think
lot of
he
boxes.
would appreciate that.
Yes, he would. And I got to say that the Sonos, the Sonos hardware is extremely well done, and it's nice because you don't have to deal with having a computer set up somewhere to kind of configure it from.
True.
Which is a big plus for a lot of people. People. Coming up next, the search for wireless headphones that don't suck. And can you trust online banking services like Mint? But first,
GoDaddy.com. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Your website visitors, prospects, and customers are wary of websites and online businesses that aren't what they claim to be, and worried that their personal and financial information might fall into the wrong hands. Turn your visitors' concerns into a competitive advantage with the ironclad protection of a GoDaddy.com secure certificate. Plus, enter code TECH1, that's TEK1, when you check out, and save an additional 10% off your entire order. Some restrictions apply. See site for details. And be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the Texilla GoDaddy deals and codes. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com.
we got an email about personal finance from Kyle. He writes, what do you think of Mint.com? Is it safe? Are there better alternatives? Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, Mint.com is one of my personal favorite websites, actually. I've been using it for several years now. If you have a lot of different accounts, like a checking account, savings account, loans, credit card bills, student loans, house loans, whatever you're putting money into, whatever accounts you have, you can aggregate them all into this one interface and see exactly what's happening to your money.
So can you pay bills? Can you cut checks? Or is it primarily a place where you analyze your spending habits?
It's really all about analyzing and seeing where your money's going. You can't affect accounts from within the interface. So you can see your checking account or you can see your credit card bill, but you can't transfer money from your checking account to your credit card bill through Mint.
Or you can't nobody can steal your password and send all of your money to Ecuador or
Right,
something.
yeah, even if they get your Mint.com password, which is pretty hard because they have the same kind of bank security that something like Bank of America or ING would have.
They actually, the kind of company that does a lot of their back end work is used by some of the biggest financial companies in the world. I mean, they are hardcore.
Yeah, they've got VeriSign and then the Trusty service also they use. So it's like an independent third-party organization that they have to send all their information to be like, hey, this is how we're doing our practices, just so you know. So they can be like, all right, if anything's going on with that, they can double check on them. But yeah, it's wonderful. You can't affect any of your accounts within Mint. You can just see them. So even, like I said, even if someone can get your Mint.com login information, they
God, look what she spent on socks.
Yeah, they're not going to empty you out, which is good.
This is a big plus. Well, how does it compare to stuff like Quicken or something like that?
Quicken does have an online service that's kind of similar to Mint from what I've heard. I've never used it personally, but people I've talked to that have used both services tend to prefer Mint.
Got it.
What else? Yeah, they have 128-bit encryption between their servers and your computer. So it's pretty tight encryption too for your data.
So I got to say, the fact that you use it day in and day out, the fact that they've taken the opportunity to work with a serious financial firm, that they do she trusts it. me.
I don't feel great talking about this, like when we had the whole big DEF CON conversation earlier, but as far as safe things go, this is about as safe as anything else you're already using for your account information for banks.
Yeah, and for people who are like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything on the web, it's dangerous, you can get rolled walking into the supermarket.
You are not their target audience.
Yes.
You are not that guy. But yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a great way to see if you're in debt or coming out a little bit on top, because you can see your overall net worth. So it takes into account all your loans and everything that you owe, and compared to what you actually have in savings and your checking.
Despite having just paid off my what I hope will be the last car loan I ever have in my life, I do not want to know my personal net worth, because then I will realize I will not be retiring before 80.
Oh, well, it would help you. You know what else they do? The way they actually make their money is by telling you different ways that you can you can save, or telling you different credit cards that'll give you a higher interest rate.
Oh, funny. So basically, they make their money.
They make their money off referrals.
I've got to go to Weasel Bank because Weasel Bank does 4%, or I have to get the mega credit.
They've actually gotten me to switch checking accounts before, because they've been like, this checking account has a much higher interest rate than the current one you're using. You can earn like $200 or $300 extra a year just by switching checking accounts.
It adds up.
And so you're like, oh, yeah, exactly, that adds up. Why not?
And because Veronica started managing her financial future at a considerably younger age than I did, she'll probably be retired while she's still young and attractive and capable of walking, unlike me. Next question.
My dad was an accountant.
What's that?
My dad was an accountant.
You had an advantage.
So he was really on me to take care of this stuff from an early age.
Take care of your teeth. Invest in a 401k as young as you can, even if you don't think you can afford it. And remember, people, don't buy expensive stuff you can't afford on credit cards, because you'll be paying it off for the rest of your life.
Although if you want to establish good credit, it's good to buy one big thing and then pay it off.
Yes, a car loan or a motorcycle loan. Preferably on a used car, because actually.
Now we're giving financial advice, and we are really not qualified to do this. But what we are qualified to do is answer a video question from Alex.
Hey Patrick and Veronica. I have an iPod and headphones, and together they work well. But I hate the cable, since it always gets tangled up in my pocket somehow. I was wondering if there's a pair of decent wireless headphones I could buy that aren't too expensive. Also, what happens if you go over the 15?
Well, Pat, I think we've ID'd another fan of special effects. Alex, we would have even been more impressed if you had blown your head up, a la episode number 2 of Film Riot. But we still think it was a pretty nifty explosion. I give them from 1 to 10, maybe a 6.
Wow.
I give him a 6.
That's high
if the
praise
head had
from
exploded,
Veronica.
maybe an 8.
Perhaps some more blood splatters.
This is a family show.
What? Blood splatter? It
Show.
It really isn't family.
But on to your question. Stereo Bluetooth.
Yeah. Okay. Quality wireless audio and cheap generally do not go together. They just generally don't go together. Bluetooth stereo audio sucks.
Yeah.
Period.
I have never found a pair that I like.
That said, if you have a Bluetooth stereo, you're streaming over Bluetooth stereo, to your car, your headphones, whatever, you love it, that's great. Continue to enjoy it. Don't let us screw that up for you. Sennheiser makes some respectable wireless headphones, both for portables and home. Atomodix has some good wireless headphones. Sony is another brand that folks love, and they have models for sale, like the home versions, for as little as $40. If you're going the portable route, look for the technology from a company called Clear, K-L-E-E-R. That's the one Sennheiser uses. It is a non-Bluetooth wireless audio format. Basically, the problem with Bluetooth is it has a very tiny, narrow bit of bandwidth, so they compress the hell out of your music, and they use little tiny processors that are some better, some worse, to basically reconstitute the compressed stream into the things that go into your ears, the transducers, the speakers, the headphones.
Right, and most people, not you, but most people probably already have pretty compressed music to start with as it is.
Yeah, compressing or pretty compressed, because you go from it's compression, uncompression, compression, uncompression. Just personally, I prefer wired headphones because they sound better to me. The Clear stuff is excellent for the portable use if you need wireless portable. And I gotta say, if you don't need portable, definitely go with one of the, Sennheiser, I think does a really good job with their wireless headphones. A lot of people like Sony. The Atomodix are nice. The Atomodix are really nice. They're also really expensive. We talked about expensive versus cheap versus wireless.
Unfortunately, expensive tends to mean better.
Yes.
That's how it goes. But on a side note, we also got an email from Joel with a really funny drawing of me in the cat lady suit. So well done, Joel. Thank you for that. I definitely plan on holding that image near and dear to my heart. And showing it to any potential suitors down the line. Be like,
little,
see?
It's little hearts and little kitty tongues hanging out that really make it freaky. I don't know. I hope we got a tight shot
It was
of
so
that
cute,
one.
though. I love it.
It's
I love
adorable.
it. I know. Everyone who comes into the studio has to put that outfit on now. It's kinda
Actually,
like a
everybody who
thing.
comes to the studio was like seeing that, and they'd look at it with this horrified expression, then they would put it on.
Then they put it on.
No, it's not like it's some rite of passage. People just walk up and put on the cat lady outfit.
It's really not comfortable.
If you want to learn cool effects like you saw in Alex's video, you should be watching every episode of Revision 3's newest darling, Film Riot. These guys are awesome. Film Riot takes the mystery out of Hollywood films. Each episode explores how you can replicate their big budget effects and techniques with little to no budget. It is awesome. You should see it. It is amazing, and the skits they do are funny as hell. Catch it every Thursday on revision3.com/Film Riot. For everybody watching, we live on your questions, so email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos, you ask us, we'll get you the answers, but we need those emails. So don't be shy, send them into techzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds or else you know what happens. You just saw it. That could be you.
That would suck.
Upload it to YouTube and send us a link in an email with video question in that subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show.
Coming up next week, you have the answer, the call, possibly, maybe. All right, Jolie Cloud, it's a new netbook operating system. Veronica's going to review
This
it.
guy.
This guy.
This guy.
That gal. We got the founder of Pandora.
Yes, Tom Conrad's going to be on the show.
And there's a strong possibility I'll be taking a look at Uma versus Magic Jack versus Skype because I need to be able to dial 911 when my cell phone service doesn't work.
AT&T.
Not that I'm bitter.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching.
We'll see you next week. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Till next time, you've been watching Techzilla. Watch the magic badge, people. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Techzilla, hands-on serious reviews of serious tech for serious people with serious gear.
Yes. So, Mr. Vegas, I heard you were down at DEF CON, slumming it up. You were.
I are not slumming. I was social climbing at DEF CON.
Social climbing.
Social climbing at DEF CON.
I don't think I want to say slumming, because then they're going to come after me. Maybe I should say that in a different way.
And they're going to come after you from strange and wonderful directions.
I mean,
for
literally,
years.
maybe I should probably say that in a different way.
With the recent revival of the franchise, me, in 3, 2, are you clever enough to uncover the nefarious plot, right the wrongs? Are you clever enough to? Are you clever? Actually,
I don't
that
think
could
that
get
was an
really out
effect.
of
I think
control.
he's actually dead now.
That would really.
I think
suck.
that explosion may have actually killed him.
Is that
so,
blood on our hands?
Rest in peace, Alex.
Or pieces, as the case may be.
I shouldn't have said he's dead now.
But I got to make a rest in pieces
I know,
joke.
it was
I've been
really
waiting my
good,
whole
too,
life
but
to make
I
that joke.
was-
Tom
I
would be
was
so
totally-
proud.
Yeah.
I punned.
I know you punned really well, but man, if something happened to that guy, I would never forgive myself.